everyone. In this lecture, we're going to continue to talk about the lower respiratory tract. So we talked about the larynx in the previous learning outcome, and now we're going to continue in the same topic, but now we're going to move further down from the larynx, and the first structure would be the trachea. The trachea, which is also known as the windpipe, it will contain on average between 15 and 20 of these tracheal cartilages, which are the cartilages that go around but do not form an entire circle. And each of these tracheal cartilages, they're going to be bound to neighboring cartilages by this elastic ligament that's called elastic annular ligament, as we can see right over here from the image. Now the trachea, because of the cartilage, is actually a very tough, but it is somewhat flexible tube. And it is flexible because, like I said, it doesn't form like a complete circle. Therefore, we say that each tracheal cartilage is actually C-shaped. And we can see right over here from this image, I think this is a perfect image to show you this C-shaped structure. Therefore, we can say that the closed portion of the C protects the anterior and the lateral surfaces of the trachea, and the open portion of the tracheal cartilages will face posteriorly, therefore towards the esophagus, as we can see right over here from this image. And because the cartilages, they do not continue around the trachea, the posterior tracheal wall can easily change the shape during swallowing or even during breathing, and this will permit the passage of large masses of food along the esophagus. Now, closing this C-shaped structure, there's going to be a muscle which is called the trachealis muscle. And the contraction of the trachealis muscle, it will alter the diameter of the tracheal lumen, which is the opening inside of the windpipe. And this will change, therefore, the resistance to the airflow. So the more it relaxes, the bigger is the lumen. And if it contracts, the smaller is the lumen. And you will definitely have the sympathetic activation that will lead to relaxation of the trachealis muscle. And this will increase the diameter of the trachea and make it easier to move the larger volumes of air along the respiratory pathways. Because if you're trying to run away, you need to have more oxygen circulating, therefore you need to have a widening of the tracheal lumen. Another advantage of having these cartilage rings forming the trachea is that it prevents the collapse or even the overexpansion as the pressure actually changes in the respiratory system. Now, as we move down into the trachea will split into what we call a right and left bronchi. So bronchi is plural, singular is bronchus. And before the split, right at the end of the trachea, there's going to be this internal ridge between the right and left bronchi, which is called the carina. So here's the trachea, here is the carina, and then you're going to have the left primary bronchus and the right primary bronchus. Once the primary bronchus splits, as we can see better on the left side, it becomes the secondary bronchus. And once the secondary bronchus splits, it becomes the tertiary bronchus. So there's really no mystery in understanding how the secondary originates from the split of the primary and the tertiary originates from the split of the secondary. But sometimes it can be a little bit confusing as what we see over here on the right side. So this would be your right primary bronchus. Notice how it's splitting a few times. This would be your secondary bronchus. And you can't really see the tertiary bronchi on the right side. So just try to follow and see where they're splitting, and then you will be able to understand the concept. And one last thing that I want to bring up is that the right primary bronchus, it actually is larger in diameter than the left one, and it also descends towards the lung at a steeper angle. So it makes it easier for foreign objects to lodge in the right lung than it is in the left lung. So the probability of an individual having an infection in the right lung is higher than in the left lung. Now let's talk about the lungs. There are two lungs. You have the right lung on the right side and the left lung on the left side. The right lung is going to be made up of 3 lobes divided by 2 fissures. And the left lung is going to be made up of 2 lobes divided by 1 fissure. So let's look at them separately. Here we have the right lung. As we can see, it will have 2 fissures, which are the horizontal fissure and the oblique fissure, which is a little bit hard to see on this middle image, but we can see it better on a picture of the right side of the right lung. And therefore, these fissures will separate the right lung into the superior lobe, the middle lobe, and the inferior lobe. Now the left lung, like I said, will have only 1 fissure, which is the oblique fissure, and we can see it better on this image. And this 1 fissure will separate it into 2 lobes, the superior lobe on top and the inferior lobe on the bottom. Now, why is it that the right lung has 3 lobes and the left lung has 2 lobes? Well, remember that you have the heart right in the middle, but the heart actually shifts a little to the left side. Therefore, there's less space on the left side. So this is why the left lung only has 2 lobes. The other thing that we can see from this image is how the right lung is a little bit more elevated than the left lung. And this is due to the fact that on the right side, you have this big organ right over here, which is the liver. So the liver sort of elevates the lung a little bit on the right side. So it's a little bit more superior compared to the left lung.